The phone call that shattered my world came on an ordinary Wednesday afternoon in March. I was hunched over patient files at the pediatric clinic where I worked as an intake coordinator, half listening to my coworker Sarah complain about her toddler's latest grocery store meltdown, when my cell phone buzzed against my desk. The number was unfamiliar, but something about it felt urgent rather than spam-like. I stepped into the hallway, away from the cheerful chaos of children's voices and ringing phones. "Miss Blake? This is Nathan from North Lakes Credit Union. I'm calling about your past due mortgage on the Highland Avenue property. You're currently 3 months delinquent, and we need to discuss payment arrangements immediately." My breath caught in my throat. "I'm sorry, what mortgage?" There was a pause, then the rustle of papers. "The loan for $623,000. Miss Blake, are you saying you're not aware of this account?" The number hit me like a physical blow. $623,000. I lived in a cramped one-bedroom rental near Hennepin Avenue, surviving paycheck to paycheck on my $42,000 salary. I had no savings for a down payment, no cosigner, and certainly no delusions about homeownership in Minneapolis's brutal housing market. "This has to be some kind of mistake," I managed. But then Nathan read the address, 1247 Highland Avenue. The words triggered a memory so vivid I nearly dropped the phone. My sister Alyssa's new house, the gorgeous craftsman home she and her husband Gavin had moved into just 4 months ago, the house where I'd sat on their sun-drenched patio eating mousse cake, admiring their good fortune in finding such a steal in today's market. My hands began to shake. I need to call you back," I whispered, ending the call before Nathan could respond. I locked myself in the staff restroom and pulled up my credit report with trembling fingers. There it was, clear as daylight, a mortgage account in my name, linked to my social security number, with the address updated to 1247 Highland Avenue. My credit score, once a respectable 726, had plummeted to 542. But that wasn't all. As I scrolled through the nightmare, I discovered a home equity line of credit, 3 maxed-out credit cards, and a personal loan, all bearing my name, all linked to an email address that was almost mine, Naomi Blake, mpl.com instead of Naomi, Blake, mpl@gmail.com. One tiny character difference, easy to miss, easy to explain away as a typo. Unless you knew exactly what you were looking for. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, watching my face transform from confusion to recognition to a cold, creeping dread. This wasn't identity theft by some faceless criminal. This was family. This was betrayal served with Sunday dinner and birthday cards. The woman who had shared a bedroom with me for 16 years, who knew my social security number from tax documents we'd helped each other file, who had unrestricted access to my mail whenever I visited, she had methodically dismantled my financial life to build her dream home. That evening, I sat in my modest apartment surrounded by the plants I'd nursed through harsh Minnesota winters, trying to process the magnitude of what had happened. Alyssa had always been the golden child, homecoming queen, real estate license by 22, married to a finance professional, curating the perfect Instagram life with luxury cars and European vacations. Meanwhile, I processed patient paperwork, owned one pair of good heels, and used my vacation days for dental appointments. I'd never minded the contrast. I found peace in my simple life, satisfaction in paying my bills on time and sleeping soundly at night. But apparently, my peaceful existence had made me the perfect victim. The next morning, I marched into North Lakes Credit Union armed with every piece of identification I owned. Branch manager Evan Carlson met me in a sterile conference room, sliding a thick folder across the table with professional sympathy. Inside were loan documents, closing disclosures, and income verification statements, all bearing my forged signature and claiming I earned $198,000 annually. This was all processed digitally, Evan explained. Uploaded documents, electronic signatures, remote income verification, very sophisticated, very clean, too clean, I muttered, studying the signature that almost looked like mine. Almost. "Miss Blake, if you're stating you didn't authorize this loan, we're looking at serious federal crimes, identity theft, mortgage fraud, wire fraud. You need to contact law enforcement immediately." I spent the next week becoming an amateur detective. A coworker's husband in digital forensics connected me with a handwriting analyst who confirmed what I already knew. The signatures were expertly forged. I filed fraud alerts with all 3 credit bureaus, contacted the Federal Trade Commission, and began building a case that would stand up in court. The hardest part wasn't gathering evidence, it was accepting that the sister I'd grown up with, the woman I'd defended at countless family gatherings, had deliberately orchestrated my financial destruction. A friend who worked at a luxury car dealership downtown provided the final piece of the puzzle. She remembered Alyssa attempting to lease a Mercedes, only to have her credit application rejected. Gavin had paid cash instead, looking distinctly uncomfortable about the transaction. Their finances were smoke and mirrors, my friend confided, all flash, no substance. When police later searched Gavin's laptop, they found internet search histories that chilled me to the bone. How to declare bankruptcy in someone else's name, and can you abandon a stolen identity legally? This wasn't desperation. This was calculated cruelty. Sunday dinner at my parents' house in St. Paul had been a family tradition for as long as I could remember. Mom's famous lasagna, Dad's careful wine selection, and Alyssa's inevitable late arrival with dramatic stories and perfectly styled hair. This Sunday would be different. I spent an hour getting dressed, choosing a navy blouse and dark slacks that made me feel professional and unshakable. The manila folder containing police reports and forensic evidence felt like it weighed 100 pounds in my bag. When I arrived, everything looked exactly the same. Dad in his recliner with a glass of Pinot Noir, Mom bustling between kitchen and dining room, Gavin helping with garlic bread. Alyssa made her signature entrance 5 minutes late, her cream silk blouse perfectly untucked, her smile radiant. "Naomi, you look so put together tonight. Promotion I haven't heard about?" "No promotion," I replied evenly, "just dressing for the occasion." Dinner unfolded like 1,000 others before it. My brother Sam discussed his kitchen renovation. Alyssa bragged about catching golden hour in her new sunroom, and Mom insisted everyone take seconds of lasagna before finishing their firsts. I waited until dessert was served and conversation had settled into comfortable lulls. Then I reached into my bag. "There's something I need to discuss with everyone," I announced, placing the folder on the table. The shift in atmosphere was immediate. Mom paused mid-sentence, wine glass halfway to her lips. Dad straightened in his chair. Alyssa leaned forward with curiosity that would soon transform into terror. "This is a police report," I said clearly. "I filed it 3 days ago." "Police?" Dad's voice carried a warning note. "What's happened?" I looked directly at Alyssa, watching her perfect smile begin to crack. "Identity theft, mortgage fraud, the purchase of a home using my name, my credit, my forged signature." "Naomi, what are you talking about?" Alyssa's laugh sounded forced, brittle. "I'm talking about 1247 Highland Avenue," I said. "Your house, which, according to the mortgage documents, is also my house, the loan, the credit lines, the debt, it's all in my name." Mom gasped softly. "But that's impossible." "That's their new place." "It is their place," I agreed, "built with my stolen identity." The color drained from Alyssa's face. Gavin stood so abruptly his chair scraped against the hardwood floor. "We don't need to do this here," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Sit down, Gavin." Dad's tone brooked no argument. I opened the folder and began sliding documents across the table. Bank statements, credit reports, the handwriting analysis confirming forgery, the digital forensics report showing submissions from their old condo's IP address. "It was supposed to be temporary," Alyssa whispered finally. "You stole my identity. You weren't using it." The words exploded from her like a confession. "You live in a shoebox, Naomi. You make half what you're worth. We just needed time to get back on our feet." "Don't." My voice cut through her justification like ice. "Don't you dare turn this into some twisted rescue mission. You didn't borrow my identity. You hijacked my entire financial life." Gavin's composure finally cracked. "I told you this would backfire," he said to Alyssa. "I told you." "You went along with it," I interrupted. "You knew every step of the way. You used the credit cards, bought that Mercedes with stolen money." Mom stood on unsteady legs, her face pale with shock. "Alyssa, please tell me this isn't true." But Alyssa couldn't meet her eyes. "We were drowning," she said, mascara beginning to smear. "Everyone expected so much from us. The house, the lifestyle, the image. We couldn't keep up. So you decided to bury your sister instead," Dad said quietly. "I didn't think it would go this far. I thought we'd fix everything before anyone found out." "You researched filing bankruptcy in my name," I said, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. "You were never planning to fix anything. You were planning to destroy me completely and walk away." The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Dad spoke with a voice I'd never heard before, cold, final, devastating. "Get out, both of you." "Dad, please," Alyssa started. "No, we'll deal with the consequences, but you won't do it under this roof." They left without another word. Gavin's hand on Alyssa's elbow as she stumbled toward the door in shock. The fallout was swift and merciless. By Monday, local news had picked up the story. Prominent realtor under investigation for identity theft. My phone exploded with texts from relatives and former coworkers, everyone wanting to know if the rumors were true. My parents struggled with the public humiliation. Mom called repeatedly, her voice thin with exhaustion, begging me to find some quiet way to resolve things. "She's still your sister," became her refrain. Think about the children, Harper and Reed, 5 and 7 years old, innocent casualties in their parents' war against financial reality. The thought of them visiting their mother in prison made my chest tight with grief. But my friend Stephanie refused to let me waver. "If a stranger had done this to you, would you hesitate to prosecute?" she asked bluntly. "Biology doesn't give anyone a discount on destroying your life." 9 months later, I signed my own mortgage documents. Real income, real credit, real choices. The house was modest, a 2-bedroom in Bloomington with patchy grass and outdated appliances, but it was mine, built on truth instead of theft, boundaries instead of guilt. Alyssa and Gavin pled guilty to federal charges, 18 months for her, 12 for him. Their picture-perfect social media life collapsed under the weight of court records and press coverage. I didn't attend their sentencing. I was too busy rebuilding what they'd tried to destroy. The day I moved in, my parents visited separately. Mom brought lasagna in a dish I remembered from childhood. Dad handed me a small fern in a clay pot. "I should have said this before," he admitted quietly, "but you did the right thing." A few weeks later, a letter arrived addressed in pink marker, sealed with a unicorn sticker. Harper had drawn me a flower and written, "I know Mommy did something really bad. I still love her, but I love you too. Can I visit your new house?" I stared at that innocent note for a long time, tears blurring my vision. This wasn't a story about revenge or ruin. It was about reclaiming what was stolen, not just my credit or my identity, but my right to live without fear, without guilt, without compromise. My sister may have built her dream house on the foundation of my stolen life, but I built something better, a home rooted in truth, protected by boundaries, and finally, blessedly, safe inside my own name. Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe Revenge Radar and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you in next video.